For us, modern mobility means reliable and fast internet connection regardless of where we are. This connectivity is provided via satellite, providing broadband internet everywhere, on ships, on planes, and in remote regions of the Earth. Because of digitization, there's an increased need worldwide for broadband internet. Our world is full of network technology. Smartphones are a perfect example. With them, we can go online anytime, any place. We can send photos, videos, stream films and music, find out exactly where we are. What does this mean for us all, technologically and economically? So, digitization of communication, especially satellite communication and geofencing, in other words, we know exactly where an object or a product is, be it a ship, an aircraft, a car, or I myself. And that, of course, changes many things, because I now understand the context. The Luxembourg-based satellite operator SES is the global market leader in this field. SES develops satellites, launches and operates them in space. Currently, the fleet counts over 60 spacecrafts. But how does this internet from space work? To find out more, we set off for the south of the USA. In Florida, the world's largest passenger ship is lying at anchor. And for this ship, the ability to have fast broadband internet is what sets it apart. The ship has broken all manner of records. It's the Harmony of the Seas, operated by Royal Caribbean International. It's not only the world's largest passenger ship, but also enjoys the fastest internet on the high seas. This giant offers its guests more bandwidth than a typical cruise fleet. While the guests relax at sea and enjoy the high-speed internet, IT and satellite experts are working in the background round the clock. While the ship's at sea, a satellite's beam is constantly tracking it, providing the vessel with a cloud of reliable and high-speed internet connection.
We have a spacecraft about 5,000 miles up, actually flying over the ship. Every 40 minutes, the spacecraft flies over the ship. We have 3 antennas that are tracking the satellites, and every time one comes up over the horizon, it starts receiving from the satellite and starts transmitting. The satellite passes over, one antenna flips back and does the same thing again, and they hand over the communications back and forth between the spacecraft.
Cruises are all the rage these days. The number of passengers in Europe alone has doubled in the past 10 years. In North America, numbers are growing just as fast. The Cruise Lines International Association, or CLIA, the largest trade body in the sector, is expecting almost 26 million passengers worldwide in 2017. Cruise operators are investing some $7 billion in new cruise liners. This means new ships and new communications technology. By 2020 already, smartphones will probably account for some 30% of global internet traffic. Millions of interconnected devices will be equipped with the new 5G standard for high-speed internet use. But will the modern ocean cruise ships be able to keep up with the demand of people? The demand to chat, stream live content, and game online. IT experts on modern cruise ships worked just a few years ago with speeds of around 2 to 3 megabits a second. By contrast, the Harmony of the Seas provides speeds of 600 megabits a second. This allows a music album of 600 megabytes to be downloaded in about 8 seconds. And this speed is needed as all 6,000 passengers and 2,000 crew members want online access. It's an impressive example of progress when it comes to providing cruise ships with broadband access.
The first time I saw a guest walking with their iPhone doing a FaceTime with somebody at home showing them the whole ship, walking the whole ship and demonstrating the ship to someone at home. And it was no big deal to them, but for us it was a huge undertaking to make that possible.
The main benefit for the guest and crew is that they experience the great internet connection. They are able to post all their memories online on social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these things. They can chat with the family back home to see what they're missing on board and all the great times they have. When it comes to satellite, the connectivity for us is crucial. Nowadays, all the guests and crew members want to experience very fast internet connection. Everybody's so used to it, so it's normal to provide this type of connection on board the ships, cruise ships as well as they have on land.
People want to be connected everywhere, and for providers this is top of their agenda. Likewise, it is important for businesses to provide online access to their employees, particularly in remote regions like the world's oceans.
When I first started in the business, I never had kids or anything. Now with the kids, it's been very important for me because there are times, especially during a new build, I'm away from home, a month or so, and that time I could FaceTime with my daughter. When I first started, there was no FaceTime, so I missed the first time she walked. With my son, it's different. He's not 2 years, so now I could see a lot more development while I'm away versus when my daughter was first born. So personally, I think that's been the biggest change for me. Yeah.
Fast broadband access for crew and passengers alike is one of the main goals for cruise operator Royal Caribbean Cruises. That's why the company relies on satellites.
Well, the satellite communication now enables the ships to basically be able to communicate and have different technologies enable us to basically pass on information about the vessel and have efficiencies in communicating that data over to the shore side. And then we have personnel over here making sure that we're being as most efficient as possible. There are definitely some technical challenges where at home you have physical connectivity to your house, and here you have to go to space and then go back to Earth, which is pretty incredible to think about. But the technology is pushing, and we're working with our partners to make sure that transition between home and cruise is seamless. Royal Caribbean is very interested in making sure that we have crew welfare and that we're taking care of our crew. And our crew and employees, they spend months at a time on the vessels, and they need that special personal touch with their families. So we spend a lot of time and effort to provide that and to make sure that our crew are happy and satisfied.
Digitization is changing the way we communicate and consume. Hence, manufacturers are having to change their product ranges accordingly. It's a far-reaching and permanent transformation. But who's driving this development? We have asked a real digital expert. Industry is making its products and services more digital in order to get closer to consumers. The decisive factor is not how industry wants to offer a product, but the expectations of the customer. So when a customer Googles me on his smartphone, even if I'm a baker and he wants to know where the nearest rolls are, then he can find out instantly from Google Maps. If I don't have a website, I probably won't be found anymore. That's the crucial factor. To that extent, industry and consumers are driving this development in equal measure. Digitization also plays a crucial role in the field of satellite communications, with the latest generation of new high-tech spacecraft being able to do vastly more than traditional satellites. But what can these super satellites really do? We meet the SES Chief Engineer Martin Halliwell at the control center of the satellite fleet.
What we're actually doing here generally is that, first of all, as you look around, you'll see that all of this data which is being transmitted back from the various different satellites that we have in orbit. Hundreds of thousands of data points, temperatures, voltages, attitude information, status information of the various different satellites is transmitted down here. And everything is monitored and everything is stored. And so we know exactly what is happening on the satellites in orbit. All the various different personnel who work here are completely au fait with the working of these various different spacecraft. So they understand the subsystems, they understand what has to be done to keep them healthy, to keep them in position in space, and to keep them pointed at the Earth correctly. So we man this place 24 hours a day, 7 days per week. This is only one actually of 3 operation centers that we have, and we split up the various different satellites that we have on orbit to be controlled from these various different rooms.
High-performance antennas pointing at the satellites are able to transport the signals back and forth, broadcasting satellite TV to millions of households or providing the customers with high-speed connectivity to the desired spot on Earth. What differences are there between the various satellites up there in space?
Within SES's fleet, we have essentially two types of satellites. We have geostationary satellites, which are orbiting at around about 36,000 kilometers, and we have medium Earth orbit satellites, which are orbiting at around about 8,000 kilometers. And each of these type of satellites has different capabilities. Now, for us, that's very important, because we can then offer a whole raft of services to our customers.
But how do these new communication satellites work in contrast to the older ones, and what makes them so unique?
Very simply, every satellite utilizes a certain amount of frequency spectrum. It's allocated to that satellite's use. With the traditional satellites, we could only use that frequency once. We just transmitted that frequency over an area of the Earth. With the high-throughput satellites, we can break that frequency up into very small beams, and we can use it again and again and again. Providing the beams are far enough apart from each other, we can take that frequency and we can use it again, and we can use it a 3rd time and a 4th time. So the usage of those frequencies that are allocated can be multiplied many times over. So it becomes far more an efficient use of the spectrum which is made available to us. And if you can do that, then again, that opens up the whole possibilities for data communication and allows us to offer a better price point. It allows us to offer new types of applications, and it's basically the stepping stone to how we go forward for the future for data communications via satellite. When a customer requires a low latency type of service, when he needs to get the satellite signal very quickly to the satellite and back to the ground, we can offer him a medium Earth orbit satellite service. If he needs a point to multi-point distribution over a huge area, a geostationary type of satellite might be a better solution for him.
So where do the super satellites come in? To find out more, we take to the air. Because modern civil aviation is increasingly using high-speed internet from space. We leave the Miami region and fly to the Midwest of the United States. In the USA, internet in aircraft is already widespread. We use our flight to test what's really available. We try to stream a video, and voila, it works. Chicago in the Midwest. Internet via satellite already plays a major role at the city's 2 airports. But the actual revolution is taking place out of the public eye, in the town of Aurora, 80 kilometers away. Here, the engineers of the Global Eagle company are testing the latest generation of aircraft antennae, the ones that make fast internet on board possible. Ironically, the aircraft used for the tests is pretty ancient. A Grumman Albatross dating from 1951, pensioned off from the US Navy.
Well, as a pilot, aviation has always been in my blood, and so it's very exciting to be able to have an opportunity to fly an aircraft like this, and also to develop some of the latest technology that we can prove out on this platform.
For nearly 3 years, the company has been testing a new satellite antenna for use in aircraft. It's now about to enter service. We're the first camera team to be allowed to see the high-tech device.
This is our new antenna that we're testing on board our test aircraft here, the Albatros 1. This antenna is our latest development. It's a triple axis antenna. So this is the difficult piece for aircraft, steering the antenna accurately to point to the satellite in all phases of flight is the challenge. There's also some technical challenges when we're traveling so fast on an aircraft. We have to adjust some of the frequencies to make sure that they arrive at the ground station in the appropriate order.
Global Eagle offers a complete internet package for international aviation, from the technology to the content. How far advanced is internet access in aircraft? After all, the number of passengers is growing all the time. Today, worldwide, there are 3.6 billion passenger journeys every year.
Now we are getting into the period where we have very extensive, elaborate technologies on the top of the plane, inside the plane, where you can stream and the plane can actually stream back. So it's incredibly more sophisticated, much like the newest phones. So the people benefiting, those benefiting really went from the elite passenger who could afford to buy in-flight connectivity to now every passenger. So there are airplanes being connected every day that weren't connected the day before.
The passengers profit from the super satellites with their high data flows, while they can send emails, upload and download photos, and even stream videos. But engineers enhance the technology for the crew of a plane as well. For example, the jet can be constantly monitored from the ground during the flight.
We've come a long way from the original internet connectivity for airplanes, where it used to be only basic and very expensive. And part of the reason it was expensive is that there was not a lot of bandwidth available for airplanes. Now, pendulum has swung to being this elaborate set of satellites all around the world, connecting to thousands of airplanes around the world. So the cost of the total system has gone down, the cost of the satellite bandwidth has gone down, and the availability of all these systems has become universal.
Technology never stands still. So, we see antenna technology evolving every 5 to 6 years. So this is a second generation antenna. The next step is we're already developing new products for our third generation, which will be more on the flat panel realm. So we will be developing flat panels for both KU and KA band, and we'd be hope to testing those on this aircraft also in the future.
And we're not only talking about those in airplanes, we're also talking about those on the ground, in ships, in commercial shipping for oil tankers, cruise ships, people in remote places in Africa. So this technology advancement has really allowed everybody on the planet to be connected instead of those who can afford it.
An example of internet via satellite in remote areas is the SatMed eHealth platform on SES satellites. By using SatMed throughout Africa, local doctors are able to communicate with their colleagues in other parts of the world. Likewise, communities in rural areas are also benefiting from e-education programs delivered by satellite-based internet. It's about much more equal opportunities, for example, by educational offers provided all over the globe. Think of the student at Stanford University or at Aachen University and the other student who sits at Ouagadougou and who can afford the same workshop online. Because communication is less expensive, he can attend that same course at Stanford University, which others are paying with $50,000 per term. This is the democratization of educational power and economical power in the wildest sense. I am strongly convinced of that. Digitization is the chance for a better planet with much more equal opportunities. But where would all these exciting products be without the necessary infrastructure on the ground and in space? This precision technology is provided by the satellite operators. It's a complex technological process for providers if consumers are to be able to communicate digitally anytime, any place. What does this mean for companies today? We simply have to understand where the chances and the risks lie. Every company needs to develop a clear goal to see where and whether it can make a profit from digital technology and where not. Is it enough to integrate a sensor into a product? Or do I have to completely rethink the product, as has happened with keys and tickets? Because here, nothing is like it used to be. Anyone running a business needs to be clear about this. So the slogan must be, adapt or die. It's the survival of the fittest, as Charles Darwin said. The rest will simply die out. In digital evolution, this will probably be even more drastic than in the first, second, and third industrial revolutions. Technology that needs to be usable in space over a period of years has always been very expensive and very complex. Do efficiency and sustainability play a role for satellites of the new generation? And what will they look like in the future?
Will be completely different. The size of the satellites will probably be somewhat smaller. And probably the lifetimes will be somewhat shorter as well. At the moment, a satellite's lifetime is between 15 and 18 years. And so you better pretty much know what your market is. You know, when you decide to build it. It takes 3 years to build it. It takes a year basically to prepare it for launch and to launch it. And then it's there for the next 18 years. So that's an enormous time frame. And things are moving so fast technically now. We believe that that is probably too long. And we would like to shorten that cycle. And if you shorten the cycle, it allows us to use different components. It allows us a different approach to the way that we build and launch satellites today. So I think there's a lot of changes coming, and they're coming very quickly. So my belief is that the next phase of spacecraft that we build will be software defined. It'll be basically a sophisticated digital processor on the satellite which can be changed as and when we require it. So I think the satellites, not in 50 years, but the satellites in the next phase of the procurements that we make in 5 years' time will be completely different from the geostationary satellites that we have today. Things are moving that fast now.
Companies are continuing their work on new super satellites for a network in space to encompass the globe for internet everywhere. The next launches are already scheduled.